To start the papers now, let's bring you some of the headlines across newspapers in Nigeria. And we have with us a writer and social commentator, Ayodele Adio, joining us this morning. Ayodele, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, good
Nice
to
to
see
have
you.
Good to see you.
All right, we begin with the Punch newspaper this morning. I was ousted, detained for fighting corruption. That's according to President Buhari. Well, President hasn't learned from his experience, says Balarabe Musa.
That is a very strategic statement to make,
Exactly. I'm sure the president is referring to his 1985 experience.
Yeah.
He's been talking a whole lot lately.
He has
of
been.
course, via his spokespersons, and the rhetoric has been simple, and it's been hitting on corruption, the funds that are being recovered, the looted funds that his government has been mopping back in, and all of that. And if you read a very interesting scoop by the Premium Times a couple of weeks ago, where they talked about the communication strategy for the president and his team going into 2019 was clearly to drive the messaging about anti-corruption and the corruption of the PDP, and that will be their mainstay. Of course, that also informed the choice of their director of strategic communication, at the end of the day. So I'm afraid that all you're going to hear all through the campaigning season will be we have recovered funds and we've fought corruption. Because that, for me, is the only thing that they can effectively communicate to you and I that has seemingly evidence.
Really? Do we really even have evidence as far as that's concerned? Because SERAP has written to the UN for more transparency when it comes to all of this. But we'll get to that.
The point there is there are lots of issues of prosecutions here and there, but there hasn't been convictions for people. You remember Professor Wole Soyinka was saying, until the big guns are convicted, that's when we know there is fight against corruption.
And really, how much do we even know that has been recovered from stolen funds? How have these monies been used?
Deployed to other
they
things.
Been deployed? That's even
Yesterday
the word.
Was saying that the president was saying, well, the monies, the Abacha loot was going to go for vulnerable people.
Aren't we all vulnerable? That's the question.
Exactly. How do you define vulnerability here? Because everyone is vulnerable one way or the other.
All right, moving on. Buhari will win 2019 poll without NPDP, says El Rufai, the governor of Kaduna State. He's been saying, look, this NPDP thing, they're pushing their luck too far. Without them, we'll still get this thing. So.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure if he has the gift of clairvoyance, but one thing I know is that it's not going to be a ride in the park for the president. It's going to be a very tough job because you travel around the country. There's a lot of dissatisfaction with the way the last 3 years have gone. Lots of young people have lost their jobs. A lot of young people who have graduated in these 3 years haven't found meaningful jobs to do. The economy is just trying to raise head above water. The security situation in the country has been in complete shambles. So it's not just going to be a walk in the park. They have to do a lot of work.
And when an El Rufai says
votes.
without the NPDP that Buhari will get it, NPDP is insisting that it was actually their efforts and their contribution that gave it to Buhari in 2015.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Okay.
The fraction in the PDP made it a lot easier, for the APC.
Okay, National Assembly raises 2018 budget by 508 billion naira. May pass 9.12 trillion naira budget today. You can be sure that this will be on the front burner of national discourse for another.
Someone would say this is a way of blackmailing the executive because the time had lapsed for quite some time now. So push it in this way, delay it, push it in this way, and push it to the president. Let him. He has to sign it now because he's desperate. He needs money. Is this what
it was all about all this while? Is that why we had this delay?
Well,
in the first place,
you never can say. I mean. They'll tell you that there are legitimate reasons. Crude has hit $80 per barrel. When the budget was initially proposed 6 months ago, I think the price of crude was about $47, $49 per barrel. So you have more money being accrued to the Federation account.
So why not
share? So why not?
Exactly.
If you look at the breakdown of some of the estimates that I've seen, you'll see that debt servicing has increased over this window that we need to, the obligations we need to meet. You'd also see, surprisingly and shockingly, that recurrent expenditure had increased, by a couple of billions. And I'm shocked, how much recruitment have we done?
Have we done?
That
Exactly.
suddenly the expenditures have increased over the
and
time.
capital expenditure too has been
of course, has gone up also.
Okay, Shiite leader,
yes,
Shiite leader El Zakzaki arraigned in Kaduna, 2 feared dead in robbery attack on Ekiti Bank. Lagos politician batters phone repairer for meddling in fight with wife. If they continue to harass my supporters, I may dump APC, says Shaguni. Okay.
Well, from the paper you just read, it's good that El Zakzaki has been arraigned back
finally
in
Kaduna.
That's the biggest relief news in the week so far, because we've always screamed that the man deserves a fair trial, and if he's guilty, prosecute. But
his supporters have been on the streets protesting, and then Serap was also writing to the UN saying that the federal government was not adhering to court injunctions.
So it's a step in the right direction. Let the courts decide.
Okay. Well, the Nation newspaper, EFCC has recovered over 500 billion naira, says Magu.
Okay.
Okay. Well, one thing there is, Nigerians keep hearing the figures, above their heads and all of that. How this translates to the practical infrastructure is what Nigerians are thinking about. And the point is, they've always said, tie these monies to any major project.
Tangible projects that you can say.
The second Niger bridge, tie it to it. Let us know that, okay, Abacha route was used to construct that bridge, or the rail, the east-west road, or the northeast road, as the case may be.
Yeah, you see, the whole stories around these recovered funds are a bit hazy. Sometimes you hear a figure today. You remember the last time there were discrepancies with the figures that the Minister of Finance had to reconcile with the EFCC boss, and all of that. I think sometime, or most of the time, there's a whole lot of propaganda to the figures that have been lettered out in a couple of occasions. And, like I always like to say, these people are communicating to a set of Nigerians. They are a set of Nigerians, and I must tell you, they make a whole lot, they run into millions, who just want to hear that you've collected monies from certain bad people and you've kept it somewhere. And they're happy, it makes them happy.
People of no conscience.
I like the way how you put it. A set of people. So if you categorize yourself, you know where you belong. If you are, there are 2 Nigerians killed in South Africa. That is really sad. It's been on for some time, this recurring thing in South Africa. Or your minority leader, elected speaker, there has been issues there as well. Senate okays attractive investment bill, and I'm honored to be invited, says Wanko. And National Assembly raises 2018 budget to 9.1 trillion naira. That's basically on the Nation newspaper.
I think a lot of diplomatic, whatever goes underneath the carpet between Nigeria and South Africa. But there comes a time where we need to be a little tough. We need to take strong stance. Our people cannot be killed consistently. We can't be expendable
over 100 Nigerians killed in a couple of years. And according to the leader of the Nigerians there in South Africa, how is it that South African companies are doing well in Nigeria? They make so much money, repatriate, back to South Africa. You don't hear about any South Africans being victimized, much less being killed. Every day, Nigerians are being on an average.
Exactly.
Almost every other week, a Nigerian is killed in South Africa.
Well, the point there is, I think it has to do with what they are involved in. Well, when it comes to the issue of drugs, you often hear that so many Nigerians, not all, so many Nigerians are involved in drug, substance, and all of those trafficking in South Africa.
Yes, but these guys that were killed, this latest killings, one of them was going to open his house, actually going to collect his rent from his own property, only to be gunned down in front of the building.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
there's been xenophobia all the while.
It's really unfortunate.
That's why I say that
a
lot more needs to be done on the diplomatic front to tell South Africa, and of course, by extension, other countries, that
like
the
Sudan,
life of
Nigerian diplomats was killed.
And see, that's why a lot of things that we do in the international scene sends subtle message to other countries that Nigerians are dispensable.
Exactly.
You know, we buried 26 people in Italy. Remember when the migrants who died in the Mediterranean, and there was not a single representative from the government.
Even though government said there were no evidence that they were Nigerians.
You know, so I mean, it's really sad. So we need to show that the life of every single Nigerian matters. We need to fight for every Nigerian and ensure that we're not treated, you know, like a piece of candy at the end of the day. So
okay, moving
if you
on.
have to do crime, pay.
Exactly.
Pay. Yeah. The Daily Sun reports 2019 NPDP to Buhari, we will shock you. Okay.
That's a new dimension now.
Well,
if you think we're not important, then you'll find out how important we are.
I'm afraid the APC are about to step on a banana peel. You know, you've run of the 36 states. I mean, reports have come in that about 28 states have run parallel congresses. The houses, there's a division in the APC, and you want to continue to stoke that fire, you know, by antagonizing or annihilating the NPDP faction, you know. So if they want to step on the banana peel, fine. Probably another party is going to harvest.
So the banana peel left the National Assembly, is now gone. Remember, okay. IPOB, CP trade words over alleged abduction of Kano's brother and cousin. You can't stop Igbo summit, Ohaneze tells pro-Biafra group. Okay, that's another brewing trouble there. Kano's brother has been abducted, and nobody seems to be taking responsibility for that. Okay.
Well, the issue of IPOB, the point there is that I don't know if they still exist, but there was supposed to be a summit by Ohaneze Ndigbo on the restructuring and all of that, and then IPOB was saying they will not allow it to hold. So somehow, those who are supposed to come together to fight a single cause, they're the ones fighting against each other.
A house divided against itself.
Exactly.
You see, all of these things will continue in the country that cannot provide meaningful jobs for its youthful population, that cannot secure the life and properties, you know, for its youthful population.
It seems Nigerians really have not determined or discovered who the real common enemy is.
Oh yes, and sometimes you can blame them because, you know, for so many Nigerians, and I tell you, millions of Nigerians have not seen even 5,000 naira in a month.
Yeah.
You know, and you can imagine what that does to the psychology of a man. He's beating to the ground, and so he doesn't care really what restructuring is or whatever it is. And I think again that sometimes we take a simplistic approach to assume that the fact that we're going to restructure, the fact that, you know, the South-East gets some sort of autonomy or the North gets some sort of autonomy to solve our problems. Go and look at every single nation that has moved from a third world country to a developing nation, an emerging economy. They've done so by immersing powers at the center, whether it's India, whether it's Singapore, whether it's China. There was a strong center that mobilized the entire country, used the resources of the center to drive up states, and at some point, they decided to decentralize power. And that's why the Americans call it to a more perfect union, because people came together to a center. So if we think that being in the center, we can't even drive meaningful development, tell me where we're going to find the resources in regions to be able to mop up the kind of development that we want, because these things cost billions.
That's
of
a very
dollars.
important point you make there.
That's
okay.
true. Let's move to the Vanguard newspaper now. Dogara to Buhari, you're not the only corrupt-free Nigerian. I was jailed 3 years for fighting corruption. Well, Buhari, you know, I guess many of the statements, or much of the statements were made at the commissioning of the EFCC headquarters, where they had former president of South Africa, so many other heads of states there.
You know, I can understand, you know, Dogara's pain, because sometimes it does seem like there's one holy man in Nigeria.
Just
and all
one.
of us are sinners. And he's just the only saint.
With what some people even call the Messiah complex.
You know, the Messiah complex. And he's the only, you know, but I mean, every single day, you know, I meet Nigerians who are honest, not just Nigerians who are comfortable. I've seen Nigerians who are being owed salaries, who do jobs in
still
newspapers,
go to work,
and still will refuse to be bribed by yellow envelopes. You know, so you have a lot of Nigerians with integrity who do their jobs
they have
by
only
the book.
not just been on the spotlight.
And that's just all,
Yeah,
you know. So the truth is, we don't have one holy man in Nigeria.
We don't have just one holy man, and that's true. Well, no word from Buhari as NPDP's ultimatum expires. So that is why they were saying, well,
we will shock you.
We will shock you. Okay. Going forward, I know that it's an election year, one way or the other. There's going to be so much surprises going forward, you know, from all the different political.
Well, we hope there'll be pleasant surprises.
There'll always be surprises. Whether they're pleasant, it depends on what divide you are.
Just hoping. Just hoping.
Right, that's the vanguard.
All right, final paper this morning. This day, NNPC selects Vitol, Trafigura, Sahara, Oando, 46 others for crude term contracts. Okay, seems like it's all business really this morning from this day. Nine Mobile Smile faces disqualification as reserve bidder. You want details of that? You'll have to pick up this day to find out exactly what they're talking about. U.S. gives claimants 90 days to challenge repatriation of $625 million Abacha loot. $1 million traced to Alami Sega ready for release. Ministry disputes claim of rejection of FG lawyers by U.S. DOJ. That's the Department of Justice. Okay.
Lots of nairas.
So much dollars out there.
This Abacha loot is like a bottomless pit, if you ask me.
Well, I mean, it is.
625 million.
I mean, it is. You know, sometimes, you know, yesterday somebody was arguing why the Swiss government will try to delay, you know, and give us stringent conditions for the release of funds that were supposed to be ours.
Some countries even want to know how we'll be spending the money.
And people are offended by that it's our monies. But first, we must realize two things. One is the fact that the funds were not moved from the Nigerian government to the Swiss government. It was moved by individuals or representatives of governments to private banks in Switzerland or, you know, countries all over the world. So it's not from a government to government. The banks, whether or not, will claim they didn't know it was stolen funds, you know, and they cannot afford to remove millions or billions of dollars from their system, you know, all of a sudden. But if you want to withdraw those monies by diplomatic efforts, where you have to go from governments to governments, the reason these people ask you questions about how you're going to spend money is because you're coming cap in hands to tell them that you want to recover loot from a certain individual, yet you have stadiums named after that individual.
Exactly.
You have hospitals and schools named after him. And so there is a question of
And of course, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, the VP, has said, look, it is a very complex thing trying to repatriate this stolen funds.
Exactly. It's obviously a very complex thing. It's not as easy as go there, tell them it's our money and bring it back, as the case may be. It's quite complex. But the point there is, a lot of people have been talking about Abacha loot. Sometimes it sounds as if Abacha was the
only looter,
the biggest looter that was in Nigeria. But the truth is,
as a matter of fact, Gowon said, you recall the papers
exactly.
yesterday, we didn't know corruption in our time.
It was after me
and yet,
that corruption
you
started.
had the Cotiebos of this world even long before.
He came in.
Gowon was in power.
But the point there is, some analysts have said, we're hearing of all of this because Abacha is no more.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
There are so many other former heads or military heads of state who have even more than what Abacha has.
Who are still very much alive.
Excuse me, that's a cough.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
You know.
You'll need
some cough syrup.
Okay. I guess we really have to leave it there right now with the headlines this morning. Very interesting headlines at that. Okay, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll get into that petition of SERAP to the United Nations.
And we certainly thank Ayodele Adio for joining us on Paper Review.